Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Topwater Podcast. My name's Justin Ellis, and I'm the host of the show. And, I mean, it's kind of a show. It's more of just me sitting here and talking about fishing and going fishing and shit. So, I didn't go fishing this past weekend, but I went fishing the weekend before. And I did fairly well. The reason why I didn't go fishing this last weekend is it was just crummy weather, and, a hard cold front came through, and we went from like high 60s to like low 40s, and it was rainy, and it's like, I didn't want to just get out into like absolute miserable conditions and go fishing. So I decided just to chill at home and be a lazy person and play some video games. And I had some fun times playing some No Man's Sky, traveling around the universe. It's pretty fun. You should check it out. But yeah, so I didn't go fishing last weekend, but I went fishing the weekend before. And I was doing really well. Well, I mean, I was doing exactly what I thought I was going to have to do. Like, I was expecting the fish to be kind of positioning themselves into areas to where they can move up and spawn. So I was looking for areas that they were potentially going to be spawning in, and looking for bass that are feeding. And since the water was kind of up, and it was fairly dingy, I just knew throwing a jerkbait like I had been just wasn't going to cut it, And I was really wanting to like do a little bit more with my new spinning reel, but it's just I kind of thought maybe I should just go ahead and just throw a square bill onto it and just check it out and find out and see. But I wasn't there really long enough in order to change baits. I only changed baits twice, and one of them was because of I actually lost one of my baits. The bait that I was doing all the damage on, I had this 6-cents crusher, but it's a fairly decent sized square bill that was pretty shallow running, and I was pretty much just throwing it and just like come right across where these little points were, and where these little entrances were into these backwaters. So like the first fish that I ended up catching was pretty much, like I said, it was off of a sort of like a riprap bridge style point, and I just came right across that point, got hung up, let it kind of rise up, and then just kind of skipped it along that point, and when it started coming across the other side, that's when it smashed it. And that was the first fish of the day. And it was a nice little like pound and a half. It was a small little bass, but definitely a male bass, so it wasn't like a bigger female that I was kind of looking for and kind of hoping for. But they may have, at that time, I don't think that they had actually moved up into that area just yet. I think they're a little bit behind where they were. If I was fishing maybe a little bit downstream, where more of the wintering haunts and sort of secondary points, maybe I would have done a little bit better job of actually picking up bigger fish, like trying to target. There's a spillway there that was just rolling, and maybe if I was trying to target the slack water on the opposite side to where all that current is pushing it, and there's also a point right over there. But on the way back, there was a bunch of people that were coming up the river, because I just kind of figured at that time, right around like 10:30, everybody's going to start showing up to the lake. And sure enough, I come around the bend, and there's 4 kayaks, and I get past those people, and I come around another bend, and I look, and I can see another set of like 3, another 2 or 4. It's like, oh man, they're everywhere. Oh, everybody's out now. They're up the river, which that's cool seeing people out, but it's kind of weird seeing a lot of people out during some sort of like stay at home order. I kind of felt like more people, but then again, also it's like everybody's cooped up, and they just want to get out and do something other than just sitting inside their house. Because don't get me wrong, sitting inside your house is pretty boring. You know, I did this last weekend, and then, you know, that was about it. You know, like I got my fill for like one weekend. You know, it's like, all right, a couple days just sitting in the side of the house, not doing anything, you know, just playing video games and watching Netflix and, you know, vegging out, you know, and this is what I get, you know. I get that little lazy bone out and back to some hard work, you know. Back to some workouts and being in shape and ready to kind of hit it hard this year, you know. Especially, you know, I actually want to, because I want to figure out if this is actually true, but apparently bass will spawn at the base of lily pads, and there's lily pads in Springfield Lake. So what I'm thinking, what I'm wanting to do is take like some sort of lizard or creature bait or something like that, and then just swim it like through the lily, like through the stems, like kind of where the bottom is, you know, not very high into the water column, but keep it kind of low. But I think I'm going to do that possibly this upcoming weekend, because this upcoming weekend it's going to be rainy in the morning, so 50% chance of showers, which showers are fine. You know, I'm fine with having showers, because I mean, rain sucks. It can be kind of miserable, but, you know, you could also, it could lightning. Lightning's worse. And I mean, if it's just rain, it's not that bad. As long as you have rain gear, you can get out there and still catch fish. And a lot of the times, whenever you have rain, you know, coming in, they're usually up on the bank more. So you actually can throw pretty darn shallow and be able to catch some pretty decent sized fish. And I don't know, I've always seemed to have pretty decent luck in the rain, but I've also had pretty decent luck of getting rained on for the weekends. You know, it's like you have a choice of either staying home and not going fishing or going fishing in the rain. So, you know, you do what you got to do. And if you want to go fishing and it's raining, then, you know, you got to get out there and you got to go fishing. As just wear the proper gear and you'll be fine, you know. It's just make sure you have something that's waterproof. You know, if it's not waterproof, then, you know, don't go out there. If it's 80 degrees outside, you know, if it's the middle of summer and it rains on you, big whoop, you'll be fine. You know, bring a towel, you know. But with everything still just being a little bit cold, you know, you don't exactly want to get wet. And even though it seems like it's warm and it seems like, oh, well, it's only 60 degrees out. I mean, you can still get hypothermic from even being in 60 degree weather. So that's just kind of one of those, it's kind of like a precaution thing at this point. We're getting to that point to where you're not going to have to worry about having any sort of winterized gear or winter gear or any sort of like extra stuff into your kayak, and just in case you tip your kayak over and you need a change of clothes. You know, I mean, you could always bring a change of clothes with you if you want, so that way, you know, when you go to leave, you know, you're not getting your, you know, car all wet. You can actually just change, and you know, that's the way to go. You know, have an extra pair of clothes. Be prepared. You know. And that's just from like being not prepared before, you know, not really thinking about, oh man, I'm going to get my car wet. And then you have a wet seat for a little while and you have to vacuum it out and spray it down because so that way it doesn't smell like mildew. But oh well, you know, I still think that getting out this next weekend is going to be pretty fun. And I think really the tactic that I really want to try, and try and also kind of like see, because we have a bit of a cold snap that is going to be occurring before the weekend. And it's just, you know, it kind of just puts a damper on everything. You know, I gotta say, it just really puts a damper on everything. Because, you know, tonight we got a low of, you know, 46. Thursday night, it's going to be a low of 31. High of 61, low of 31. A 30-degree difference that day. Ugh. It's terrible. Then high of 56, then 43. And then Saturday, here we go. It's going to be a high of 62 and a low of 52. Isn't that nice? But then on Sunday, high of 63, drops back down to 32. You're killing me. You're killing me, Mother Nature. And then, and then the lows drop back down to the low 30s. Like Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, all the lows are 32, 33, 32. And then 36 and then 40 for Thursday. Man, those lows are not high enough. My lows aren't high enough. And we're getting more rain. That's some pretty cool shit. But at least whenever the rain starts coming in, the low temps are at least higher. I mean, that's a whole 10 degrees higher than it was Sunday. So a week later, we're going to be a 10 degree higher low temps, and then it's creeping back up into the 50s. So, yeah. So it looks like we got this nice little dip, which is, it's not going to cause them to go back into some sort of winter pattern, but what it is going to do is they're going to pull off, and they're probably going to be on those staging areas. They're probably just going to sit there and just wait, and they're going to, let's see, I wonder what the moon is. The moon phases, because I think we're coming up onto a full moon, because if they're not already spawning, then, oh, you stupid pop-up. I hate pop-ups. But, let's see. Aha. Here we go. Oh, that's not what I wanted at all. I was hoping for some sort of, forecast stuff. They're like, special forecast? Or special things? Yeah, special forecast. And there's just stories about fishing. People catching fish. Let's see. I'm not really sure where to look up the moon pattern. I'll just have to Google that one. We're just going to have to go to Google. Yeah. So, let's see. Moon phase. Moon phase, Springfield, Missouri. Yes, I do want to know the lunar calendar. Okay, so we are currently into a full moon. Huh. They may have actually started making beds. There may be some bass moving up and spawning. There might already be beds. If it's a full moon now, it's probably going to be, let's see. Yeah, and it's not going to be until April 30th before we start going back. Well, April 22nd is the new moon. So, yeah, they're probably for sure they're probably already starting to spawn at this point. I bet you the water temperatures, at least some of them, there's going to be some earlier spawners. And there's probably going to be one or two on a bed. At least that's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm not really too sure. This is just me guessing. This is me taking the information that I actually know about spawning and how it goes from pre-spawn to spawn to post-spawn, and just by watching videos on how the whole spawn actually works, as far as the fish go. And and I've seen like of course I've watched bed fishing videos and stuff like that. So it's, yeah. So I can't wait to get out there and do it. I can't wait. Like, the only thing is I'm not sure. I gotta figure out whether or not, like Walmart's going to be willing to sell me any sort of like baits or anything, or maybe even Academy, because I think Academy is still open, but I don't believe I don't believe that you actually have access to the whole entire store. I think they only give you access to the either to the guns and firearm department and maybe the fishing department. I would actually have to like Google that. I'm actually going to Google that, because if they're open, and I'm able to go to Academy and actually buy a couple of because I lost my square bill, my 6-inch square bill, and okay, so it's still open. That's good. Well, since it's still open, then yeah, I'm gonna have to like make a run to Academy, either maybe Friday if I get off work early, maybe tomorrow no, I'll either do it either tomorrow or Friday after I get off work. Yeah, one of the two, because it's just like I need to buy a couple more square bills, because those things are, well, for one thing, I need to buy a couple of square bills. For two, I need to buy some sort of creature bait or a crawl bait that is either white or like some sort of like black or blue or something like that. I need to buy like some contrasting colors. And I was like, so that way's whenever I'm actually like bed fishing and like trying to watch my bait and see where it is, it's a lot easier for me to pick it up. It's not like a natural color. It's not going to look like a natural like crawfish actually into the water, or like some sort of bluegill. It's probably going to be white or black and blue, something that I can see. But I do have some darker color creature baits, or darker color beavers for sure. I'll probably want to put some sort of crawl bait. I mean, I really like those Strike King Rage crawls. Those are probably my favorite type of crawl when it comes down to just crawls in general. They're just kind of hands down, more the original style, and I just believe that they're better. Go, and also it's also confidence, so you kind of just want to go with what you're confident with, and I'm confident with them. I just want to make sure I do buy a couple of packs of those, because I'll probably end up going through a couple of packs. I also plan to take a lizard and swim a lizard, that, or like hop a lizard through the lily pads. I think that would be a great idea. I see lizards all the time. When I was bank fishing all the time, I was seeing lizards everywhere. So I mean that's a really good forage right there. I got some black lizards with the blue tail. That's gonna be money right there. Texas rig those with like a 1/4 ounce weight and a nice little meaty hook. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a really heavy duty weight, because I'm not really trying to penetrate really heavy duty cover. I'm just trying to keep it sort of low to the bottom and like going through the bottom of the stems. That's going to be my approach to it. I'm not going to, and I really wish I could get the, my other reel in. Like, I'm waiting. I'm trying to be patient about it. I want to be patient about it because, with everything going on, you have to be patient about it. There's things, for all I know, it's stuck on a ship somewhere, just quarantined right now, or stuck in a city right now that they're not allowing the package to leave that city, or something to where it's delaying it, multiple days. But either way, either way, I just kind of, I'm just going to be patient about it, and I'm just going to kind of wait for it, But, yeah, we'll see. We'll see, because, I mean, I really do want to replace the reel that's on my my frog rod, because it's my heavy-duty stick, and it's the one that I'm really comfortable and confident, like, setting the hook, like, putting some backbone into it. And I just don't think that the Bass Pro reel that I have on there is going to hold up. I think it's on its last legs, so it's needing to be replaced. And I'm waiting, trying to be patient. But I don't want to have to like necessarily go and buy a new reel while I'm waiting on this one. Even though like getting one more reel wouldn't be that big of a deal or that bad of a thing. I could actually go and buy another rod, and then I would have more rods and reels. Just add to the collection. And that's probably what's going to end up happening if I don't get this thing in a couple of weeks. I'll probably end up just buying a new reel, and then just kind of figure out the other one from there. That way I at least have something to replace that reel with, because like I said, it's had its days, of glory, and it's time to retire it. It's not like I don't even know about having it as like a backup reel. I think I might just go ahead and just frame it and put it up on the wall. I've caught some nice fish off of that, so I don't think it's a good idea to just, I don't know. It's just, it seems like it's not doing so well. It's had some issues to where it'll kind of cause the reel to go backwards, and that's not a very good sign as far as like the longevity of a reel. If it's not properly working, that means something's probably not right with it, and something's probably broke. So if it's broke, it's broke. I'm not gonna, I've used the crap out of it. It was a cheaper reel, and for a cheaper reel, it held up for a while. And now it's time to get a new reel. It's time to get something a little bit more quality. And I wouldn't mind. I'm still just a big fan of those SLXs, the ones that Shimano makes. I mean, I am a big fan of those. I might try and like look at the $150 one that they have, or I think it's $150. I'll have to check this out. We'll go to Academy's website. There's no sponsorship by them. It's just they're in town, and I tend to shop there every once in a while. And it's not since it is like a retail store, it's also, no, I want to go to the website. I want to go to Academy. I don't want to. Boom. We're just going to do that. SLX Shimano. I like them. They're I haven't ever used their other reels, but as far as like the SLX goes, I've been a really happy camper with that. I mean, I wouldn't mind. I really wouldn't mind getting like one of their more higher priced ones, maybe going with like the Corrado K. Like I'm looking at the handles on that, and I'm liking the way it looks, but for the price, let's see, I'd probably go with like the middle range one. So they got one of the SLXs, the Shimano SLX 150 bait casting reel. It is $99.99 listed onto their website. And the Shimano SLX XT bait casting reel is $129.99, and they also have the Shimano SLX DC 150, and that one is $189.99, which let's see. I want to look at the stuff. All right, let's see the features. Stiffen impact. Okay. Low profile, 4-1 bearings. I don't know what that means. Oops. So, let's see. Line capacity. Power Pro braid. 150 yards at 20 pounds. So you can only get 105 of 40, which I'd be putting something a little bit larger than 40 pounds on there. I'd be putting straight 65 because, I mean, I wouldn't be playing around. For one thing, I mean, I really would not be with a reel, which, to be honest, I would want it in the 8.2 to 1 if I actually got it into the let's see. See, I mean, I wish they would have given me more shots of the actual reel itself, because it just looks like it looks like the same reel as all the other SLXs. They're not, because I know they're different. They've got to be slightly different from each one. See, that one is... Okay, so it does... Ugh, man, got an itchy nose. Let's see. Hanging body helps a lot. Let's see. For bearings to keep debris. Okay. Da-dum. Still okay. Well, I mean, it seems like product weight. Well, here's another one. The product weight. It's 7.2 ounces. That one's the mid-range. The mid-range one is 7.2 ounces. So yeah, it seems like the higher end Shimano XLX seems to 7.6. So it's actually a little bit heavier. Extreme adjustable brake dial. Free spool nearly eliminates friction on... Okay. Greatly reduces spool vibration. Okay. It just sounds like this one's just like a higher quality. That's what it seems like. So if I end up actually buying one, I would probably end up going with the mid-range one, because I mean, I already have the $99 one, and since I've already bought one of those, I don't really necessarily want to buy the same one over again. I mean, I probably could, just to kind of like compare them side by side, but I also want to get something for my frog rod, which those ones might be the way to go, but I also, if I just spend a little bit more money, just a tiny bit more. Let's look at the Shimano Corrado K. I like the big handles on it. I'm a big handle sort of guy. Let's see. Okay. Wow, this thing looks like it's kind of reading like it's... Wow. And see, yeah, now they're going to give me pictures that are different on this one. Obviously. Give me different angles. I mean, it looks nice. But, I mean, I don't know. I should also check out 13 Fishing, because I wouldn't mind checking out their concept stuff. Their reels kind of... Let's see. Because I bet you 13 Fishing. Let's see. 13 Fishing. Yep. I don't know. Because I'm down with trying one of their things out. Because I've heard some pretty good things about these. And for only being like this one here is the 13 Fishing Inception Sport Z bait casting reel. Reel size 5. Huh. Wonder what 5 means. Instead of 50. I only get like 5 feet of line. Is that what it is? 8 ball bearings. But, I don't know. We will see. But I do like those oversized cork handles. Those are looking pretty nifty. Pretty nifty. And I wouldn't mind branching out from Shimano. I mean, sure, you should buy the things that are obviously going to, that you're going to have confidence in, that you're going to be fishing with. I mean, I have a lot of confidence into this SLX. I mean, I've caught some pretty decent fish off of it. Now, I do believe that that's kind of like a combination between the rod and reel combo, because I think with having that Dobbins rod, it's a nice, it has backbone to it, but it's nice and bendy. So it's kind of like this medium heavy, but it has more of like a moderate action to it. Even though it says it's a fast action, it's still kind of moderate. But I don't know, it's pretty decent, and I like it. And between that rod and that reel, I'm really able to play the fish really well. I mean, I can just kind of, I got the drag set just right. It's set for jerk baits, really. So that way, if a fish goes to run, then it's not going to bend out one of those hooks, because those jerkbait hooks aren't really. I mean, they're stout little hooks, but they still bend out pretty easily. They're not thick catfishing hooks that you're never going to fucking bend. So you have to be able to play the fish, especially if you had a big one on, especially with the jerkbait. It's going to run and it's going to need to pull drag. So it's not necessarily about whether or not the hooks can withstand the pressures, whether or not you set your drag paired up with the amount of, kind of the action of the rod. If you need something for piercing power, you don't necessarily need a really bendy rod. But if you need something to where you can play them out, like any sort of small hooks, any sort of like jerk baits, especially some of your square bills and lipless will have sometimes a little bit lighter wire hooks. I mean, lipless usually have some pretty beefy hooks, but you never know. I mean, they can be pretty flimsy from time to time, but most of the time they're pretty stout. You can usually rip through grass and stuff like that. So it's kind of your rod and reel combo is going to, it's really going to dictate whether or not you'll be able to play out the fish properly, or you'll risk bending out a hook, or if you have too stout of a rod, then you have to, depending on, with it being too stout, it's not going to load up properly. So it's not going to keep those hooks pinned. So what will happen is when they turn and try to come towards you and you're trying to take up slack, that rod's not going to, it's not going to stay bent. It's going to like stay straight. But what that is for, like those really heavy duty rods, it's so that way as you can have horsepower behind your power fishing at that point. Because what you're doing is you're trying to hook into a fish that's in deep cover and you're trying to yank them out of there as quick as possible, because you don't want them to swim around and wrap you around like a whole bunch of different stuff. You know, you want to be able to force the fish where you need to go. And if you're dealing with much bigger fish, that's a harder thing to do, you know. So when, you know, if you don't have the gear to be able to pull a fish out of some lily pads or pull some fish out of some hydrilla or something like that, you're going to get hung up a lot. And when you get hung up and tangled a lot, you're going to lose fish. You're going to break off, and now your lure's gone, the fish is gone, and your lure's stuck in the fish, you know. So you kind of just need to make sure that you're adequately prepared for being able to handle some heavy cover. So if you're not dealing with like super duper heavy cover, or you're working like the outsides of cover, you can usually get away with something a little bit smaller. But if you're having to deal with some heavy duty cover that you're gonna have to pull the fish out of there, if you're like flipping into something, then yeah, you need to make sure that you have the adequate equipment in order to be able to deal with it. You need to make sure that you have big, heavy-duty braid on there, straight braid. Don't even worry about leaders, because you don't need to worry about it. You know, they're in tight to cover. You're pretty much dropping it right on top of them. So it's like bloop, or it's on a lily pad, or it's on top of cover as far as like frog fishing goes. And they come up and hit that, and it's fun. It's my favorite way to fish, and I cannot wait, because that time of the year is here pretty much. I saw some bass busting on Topwater, and I should have switched over to a popper and flung that into the back of this little cut that I was seeing them bust in the back, and I was like, ooh, I should go back there and, you know, do that. But it was kind of getting to that time to where I was wanting to get off the water, and it was like, yeah, you know what I'll do? I'll just go ahead and I'm just going to get off the water, and I'm not going to worry about changing out or anything like that. But yeah, so hopefully this next time that I actually go out there, there'll be some more females that are actually going to be staged up. And maybe there might be a couple bass on beds. You never know. Well, I'll get back in there and figure it out. I think I want to go pretty far back. Like, I'm going to go all the way, like, back to where there's a spot to where I know there's rapids. And then there's kind of a couple ways to go. Like, one way that kind of, like, goes off into the back. And I noticed, like, that stuff was warm when it was cold out. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a nice little spot for them to come back in. And it was nice and protected. So that is one of the places that I'm going to be looking for whenever it comes down to bed fishing. You know, it's going to be, I bet you there's going to be some fish back up in there, you know. So we'll see. I think I'm going to get back in there. And now, and this is some more good news, is I actually got camcorders for the podcast. So now that when I go, I can actually just take my action cameras and not worry about, you know, messing them up. Because if they mess up, you know, whatever, you know, I still got the podcast. I still got the cams. So that's great. And so, yeah. But, yeah, so I think this weekend it's going to be an early day. I think the sunrise is supposed to be around 6:45. So I'm planning to, what I should do, well, the plan is to be out the door by 6:30. So that way I can be there by 6:45. Maybe I should get there a little bit earlier. Maybe I should plan on leaving like 6:15 So that way I can get out there probably around like 6:30, get everything loaded up and going. So yeah, I'm probably so that way it's like I can actually get to these places and get to these spots whenever it's starting to get daybreak, and then all these different fish are going to be possibly moving around and feeding on to shad, because if the shad move up into the shallow areas, they're probably going to end up feeding right around the twilight times. And if they're feeding right around that times, then the bass might be feeding on them too. So it's probably a pretty decent opportunity to get out there and probably catch one or two. I'm probably going to try to throw on an underspin and throw that. I think it's about time that the underspin comes back out. That's another thing that I do want to have is the underspin. Underspin on some. Oh man, I gotta get some rage tails. Fuck. All right, some rage swimmers, not tails. But anyway. So, yeah, I think that's probably going to be the plan. The plan is going to be to get out there and to oh shit. Yeah, it's probably to get out there and to just try to find those points, find those staging areas, and just kind of either run some sort of swim bait, some sort of underspin swim bait that kind of mimics the shad. I think that's a pretty good profile to go with. I mean, I wouldn't mind picking up one of those bull shads, but those things are pretty expensive. And I think I'm gonna hold off on that. I think I'm just gonna go the traditional underspin route, go with that, and then probably just go with a square bill and a jig. Yeah. That's going to be the way to go. Underspin, square bill, jig. If the water's clear enough, I'll throw a jerk bait. But I don't see it being clear enough. It's going to be, well, I don't know. No, it might be clear. It might be some jerk bait action. That'd be pretty cool. If it's clear enough to get on some jerk bait fish, I'm down. That's been my jam for this past month or two. It's just twitch, pause, and it's been fun. Especially when I caught that 5-pounder on it. It was pretty fun. All right. Well, this is kind of coming to the end of the podcast, and I'm wanting to go ahead and I kind of wanted to shorten them up and to kind of put them right around the 45-minute mark, and just I think that's just about decent. Right about there. Right about there. Feels good. So, yeah. Just make sure that you guys share this with everybody else. And, I mean, it's pretty cool if you do. I mean, I'd share this. I mean, I don't share much, but I'd share this podcast, and I try to share it with you guys. It's the reason why I do it, because I like sharing this sort of stuff, and I like sharing this sort of content. And, yeah, so just remember, guys, times are kind of stressful and times are kind of hard, and whenever you don't have too much to do, it's a good idea to find new things to fill your time, and it's good to find new things that you can possibly work on the skill set that's required to actually be able to do it, and be able to work on fishing. Fishing is a skill, and it's a skill that you need to develop over a long period of time. It takes technique, it takes know-how, it takes knowing different patterns, recognizing different fisheries, and recognizing your strengths versus your weaknesses and how that all applies. So it just takes time, and what it does for me, at least, it gives me some sort of way to it gives me some way to just kind of positively fill my time to where it's not just, sitting around doing nothing. It's challenging. It can be frustrating, and it could be one of the most exciting times that you could ever have. So I just urge everybody just to get out there, go fishing, and, just enjoy the outdoors, just enjoy the fresh air and enjoy the time out on the water, and, the time that spent either with or without people, whatever, either to get away or connect with other folks, one of the two, whatever floats your boat, I guess. So you guys can follow me at on Instagram at Justin_TDP Fishing if you want to follow me there. That's usually where I post this stuff, and that's usually where I blast it out, because it's also linked to my Facebook, Justin Ellis on Facebook. But other than that, that's really it, and that's kind of it for this podcast. And, I've had a fun time doing this one, and it was nice sitting down and talking a little bit about fishing. I kind of felt like there wasn't too much to really give out at this point, other than like, yeah, there's fish in the water. Let's go for it, But so there's fish in the water, so let's go for it. So you guys have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, a wonderful morning, whichever ones that you guys and gals are having. And just remember, be patient, use common sense out there, and, be as safe as possible. And I'll see you guys out on the water. Peace.